Alice in Wonderland. Once upon a golden summer afternoon, Alice sat beside her older sister under the wide shade of an ancient oak tree. The air was warm and still, and the only sound was the gentle rustling of the pages in her sister's book. But Alice wasn't reading. She was terribly bored. Suddenly, something quite unusual caught her eye. A white rabbit, wearing a blue waistcoat, dashed right past her. "Oh dear! Oh dear! I shall be too late!" the rabbit exclaimed in a fluttery voice. He pulled out a pocket watch, glanced at it nervously, and rushed toward a burrow beneath a hedge. Startled and curious, Alice sprang to her feet. "A talking rabbit? With a watch? I must know where he's going," she whispered to herself and hurried after him. Without a moment's pause, the rabbit leapt into the hole, and before Alice could think twice, she leaned over and whoosh! The ground gave way beneath her. She tumbled down, down, down into a deep, endless tunnel. As she fell, she spun slowly like a leaf in the breeze. "Will this fall ever end?" she cried softly, her voice echoing through the hollow darkness. At last, she landed, plop, on a carpeted floor inside a long hallway lined with many doors. On a tiny table, she noticed a small golden key and a bottle labeled "Drink Me." She picked up the key and tried it in several locks, but each door was far too small. "Maybe this potion will help," she thought, lifting the bottle. She took a careful sip. Suddenly, she began to shrink, smaller and smaller, until she was no bigger than a doll. Now able to fit through the tiniest door, she opened it and gasped. "What a magical garden!" she exclaimed, stepping into a place bursting with color. Towering tulips swayed in the breeze, and butterflies glittered like living jewels. But something felt strange. "I'm smaller than the bugs crawling on the petals," she sighed. "How will I ever return to my normal size?" she called out in frustration, her voice as light as a feather. Her cries startled the white rabbit, who appeared once more, startled and breathless. "Oh, there you are! Go to my cottage at once and fetch my gloves and fan," he ordered, before disappearing into the flowers. Thinking help might be waiting there, Alice rushed to the cottage. Inside, she found a tiny cake sitting on a tray. "It couldn't hurt to try," she said, nibbling a piece. Suddenly, she felt herself growing and growing until her head pressed against the ceiling. "Oh no, now I'm far too big," she sobbed. "I can't even move." Outside, the rabbit shouted, "You're blocking the doorway. Get out of my house." Panicked, Alice grabbed the fan and instantly began to shrink again, this time too small. She sighed, tears slipping down her cheeks. Just then, a gentle voice called to her. "One side of the mushroom makes you grow. The other makes you small," it said. Alice turned and saw a calm, blue caterpillar sitting atop a large red and white mushroom, blowing smoke rings into the air. "What mushroom?" she asked. "This one," the caterpillar replied with a nod. Alice broke off a piece from each side of the mushroom. After a few careful bites, one from each, she finally returned to her usual size. "Oh, how lovely it feels to be just right," she smiled. Not long after, she came upon a curious cat with a wide, mischievous grin lounging on a tree branch. "Which way should I go?" Alice asked. "That way leads to the Mad Hatter," the cat purred, "and the other to the March Hare. Both are quite mad." Before Alice could reply, the cat slowly faded away, leaving only his grin floating in the air. Alice followed the winding path and soon stumbled upon a long table set for tea. "Welcome, welcome!" cried the Mad Hatter. "There's plenty of room, if you answer a riddle." Alice's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I adore riddles," she said, taking a seat. She answered riddle after riddle, each more puzzling than the last. Finally, she frowned. "Wait, None of these have answers, do they? Of course not, laughed the Hatter. What fun would that be? Alice sighed. This is nonsense. I'm leaving. She wandered further and came upon a royal garden, where card-shaped gardeners were frantically painting white roses red. Why are you painting the roses? Alice asked. Because the Queen hates white roses, one whispered in fear. Just then, the Queen of Hearts arrived in a storm of red velvet and loud commands. Have you ever played croquet? She demanded. Yes, Your Majesty, Alice replied with a curtsy. Then play with me, or I'll have your head. Alice nervously agreed, using a flamingo for a mallet and a hedgehog for a ball. But nothing behaved properly. Off with her head! Shouted the Queen, her voice sharp as thunder. Suddenly, a trumpet sounded. Court is now in session, announced the White Rabbit. Everyone rushed to the palace courtroom, where Alice was accused of stealing a heart-shaped tart. What? I did no such thing, Alice cried. I was only playing croquet. The Queen shouted again. Off with her head! Before Alice could respond, she felt a soft hand on her shoulder. Alice, Alice, wake up, her sister whispered. Alice blinked. She was back beneath the old oak tree. What a dream, she murmured. There was a talking rabbit, a mad tea party, and a queen who wanted to cut off my head. But her sister wasn't listening, too busy reading her book. As Alice pouted, a flicker of white caught her eye. Behind the tree, a rabbit with pink eyes scurried by, and once more, her heart filled with curiosity. Moral of the story, be brave, even when the world turns upside down. Every adventure begins with a little courage.